By the time the 7-day cruise carrying more than 3,000 people docked in San Diego on Thursday, cruise line officials said 123 people had been infected, 50 remained in quarantine, and less than 15 people still had symptoms of a norovirus infection. Here with a closer look at the gastrointestinal illness is infectious disease specialist Dr. Michael Butera. Welcome.
Thank you, Pete.
Now, what is norovirus?
So norovirus is a particular virus in a family of viruses called the caliciviruses that is associated with seasonal and epidemic cases of gastroenteritis. It's actually the most common cause of viral gastroenteritis throughout the world, affecting all age groups, children and adults.
How contagious is it then?
It's quite contagious. It's passed from the body fluids, the stool,
Bowels,
and
right?
sometimes the vomitus as well of infected persons, and the inoculum that's required to cause symptomatic disease is very low. As few as 18 to 100 viral particles can result in infection in someone exposed through contaminated food, water, and potentially from other sources, as the virus can live in the environment for some time.
And when you say live in the environment, we mean it can live on hard surfaces like door handles and things like that, and take countertops where you might eat or something like that, correct?
That's correct. So most enteric viruses that can cause intestinal disease are non-encapsulated viruses. They're just a strand of RNA and protein, and so they're resistant to the acid of the stomach that normally protects us against many pathogens. And they're also somewhat resistant then to freezing, to heat, up to 60 degrees centigrade, and can live on what we call fomites, countertops, and other things in the environment, potentially leading to contamination.
What are the symptoms and how long does this infection last?
So generally this causes an abrupt onset of abdominal cramps. About 50% of people have vomiting. Most have diarrhea. It's a watery diarrhea. Approximately 6 to 10 stools per day, which sounds severe to me, but it's described as moderate. There are other diseases that can be worse.
And it can last for some time, even if you don't have symptoms, correct?
The symptoms generally last 24 to 72 hours, although there are some people that can have longer periods of diarrhea, particularly immune-compromised young children and elderly patients. And some of our nursing home outbreaks, we've seen this. But generally, the symptoms resolve on their own with just supportive care and treatment within 72 hours or so, but the virus can be detected in the stool for up to 2 to 4 weeks after you've recovered and you have no symptoms whatsoever.
So you could be passing it along and not knowing it. How is it treated? Is it curable? It's not, correct?
So generally, the symptoms last for 3 to 4 days, and then your body will clear it within that 2 to 4 week period, such that you're not a chronic carrier. This is not a disease like typhoid where there are chronic carriers, we think.
But can you treat it, but not with antibiotics?
So because it's a virus, right, most antibiotics are antibacterial agents, and they're not effective against viruses. So the treatment for this is basically symptomatic. It's anti-nausea medications, anti-diarrheal medications, and keeping well hydrated.
Well, I know there's some reports of some San Diego restaurants that actually put up signs when this cruise ship that came in and said, you know, please, if you're a cruise ship customer, don't come eat here. They're trying to prevent the spread of this. What is the best way to prevent the spread of norovirus?
Well, the norovirus that causes human disease is present only in humans, not in animals. The most common way to catch it is by having or consuming food and or water supplies that are contaminated with the organism. And that includes food that may be contaminated from soiled hands. So that the common sense things would be washing your hands frequently. If you get the germ on your hands, that you're not inoculating it or putting your hands near your face. And some of it's just unavoidable. I mean, if it's in a common water source, in a food source, you may get exposed.
I know we tend to hear about it on cruise ships, but actually it's also in senior facilities and other places. Where do we see it most? Is it on cruise ships? Is it daycare centers? Where do we see this most?
So it turns out this virus is actually the most common cause of gastroenteritis, both in sporadic cases as well as in the outbreak setting. Approximately 23 million cases per year estimated in the United States. About half to 2/3 of those may be outbreaks. And when we see outbreaks, in terms of frequency, the most common area to see an outbreak would be in a healthcare setting such as a skilled nursing facility. We see them associated with restaurants, family parties. Cruise ships actually rank third on the list in terms of the likelihood of getting it. And then in schools and other areas where people are congregated in closed spaces, camps, military installations, etc.
Well, this certainly has been enlightening, Dr. Manco Butera. Thank you so much.
Thank you.